Yes, John, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead in Utah.
Hey.
This is Johnny.
Hey now, Howard.
Hey now.
Hey, I just got my first radio gig being a DJ Sunday nights, and I'm pretty, nervous about it. I just want to know if any of you guys had advice or something.
You mean you got a job at a radio station, not one of these dopey podcasts?
Dopey podcast, Dopey Nation, we're all in. Dopey Nation, Dopey podcast, Dopey Nation, stay strong. Dopey podcast, stay strong, we're all in. We're so alive. Dopey podcast, stay strong, we're all in. Dopey Nation. Alright, that's it. Fuck that. That's good.
This episode of Dopey on drugs, addiction, and dumb shit is brought to you by our friends at Aloe Recovery, located in sunny Southern California, in Malibu and Silver Lake. Aloe exists to help addicts. If you're an addict and you're using, I strongly recommend checking out Aloe. Not only do they have ridiculously amazing amenities like surfing and horseback riding and sweat lodges and amazing sound bath meditations, they also have a multidisciplinary care team with a psychiatrist, master's and doctoral level therapists to treat co-occurring and underlying mental health problems, dual diagnosis, even SMI. The reason that that we decided to work with Aloe was because they have such they really believe in offering addicts respect. I've been to so many detoxes and so many facilities where I was not noticed and I was not respected, and they wanted my money and they didn't care if I leave, and they didn't really care what happened to me. Bob and Evan and Bob and the people at Aloe really care about the addicts that come through. They did this to create something different for sick and suffering addicts, and that's why we have them on Dopey. So if you're fucked and you want help and you want to go to California, you should totally check out Aloe. Now here is the show. Hello and welcome to Dopey, the podcast about drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. I'm Dave. Crazily enough, I'm at my father's kitchen table with baseball legend, bad boy, wild boy, coke boy, ne'er-do-well, former opiate addict and legend, Lenny Dykstra.
Hey, what's up, man? I love the apartment. That's where you grew up, right?
You love the middle-class Jewishness of the kitchen?
Is it?
This is as middle-class Jewish as it gets.
That's funny. Well, I mean, middle class, my whole life was about getting out of the middle, so... but this doesn't look so middle to me. This is in Chelsea. When
I grew up here, though, it wasn't that nice. It was fucking bad. It was
Chelsea?
It was rough when I grew up. It's like there's
I think
real...
there's better. There's some areas that are real high end.
It's high end here now. It's just I came up. I was born in 1974. I lived here until 92, and that's when like the gay influx to the neighborhood really happened. I did dope down the street.
Yeah.
I smoked a lot of weed here.
I didn't even do a drug or touch a beer until I got to the major leagues.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a guy that had one friend growing up because I needed someone to play catch with. I never went to a dance. I never went to a party. And, my way out of the middle was baseball. And so I made up for it at the end, though.
Yeah, you did. And you grew up in Canada?
No, I grew up in California.
Where'd you grow up?
In the Anaheim area.
See, I'm terrible. Yeah, I have no research. I think you grew up
by Disneyland.
But you said, I said, are you Jewish before? And you said, no, I'm Canadian.
Yeah, well, my grandfather and my uncle played in the NHL.
Wow.
So they lived in Canada. So I'm adopted. So my last name was Leswick. So my grandfather and uncle, they both won the Stanley Cup, and they were all stars. And so hockey was in my blood. But growing up, they had their son who married my mom. So I grew up in Southern California.
And how was that?
It was great. I mean, like, it didn't matter where I grew up because I had one thing that I was going to do, and that was, play baseball in the big leagues.
When did you realize that was what was going to be your thing?
I was about 12, and I remember some father or some adult came up to me and said, you really have a gift. Like, how do you know where the ball's going to be hit and this and that? And
so you knew when you were a kid that you wanted to be a fucking ball player, that was going to be what you did. And sports probably came totally naturally to you.
Well, absolutely. Well, I want to be rich.
That was the first goal to be rich, or was the first goal to be a ball player?
Be the ball player.
And then
once you get to the big leagues, you see all these guys making all this money. And then money at the beginning wasn't about money at the beginning. It was about playing baseball and winning and being in New York. And I mean, like I won a World Series in New York, man. Like, the most surreal thing of all that happened wasn't so much winning the World Series. It was a ticker tape parade. That was crazy.
Well, you have to deal with the fact that you won a World Series with one of the cursed teams of the universe. I'm not a baseball fan. Like, I grew up, my house was a Yankee house.
Yeah.
My dad wanted to tell, my dad stuck around to meet Lenny Dykstra before he left, and he was very sweet. And
good looking dude. Not that I'm gay or not.
He's very handsome, man.
Yeah, he is.
See, Lenny Dykstra likes my dad.
I like to hang out and just have him lure some people over for me,
Oh, some potential customers?
Yeah, all I gotta do is get them in front of me. I can sell.
You could sell? You could pimp my dad out.
That's it, man. See what his going rate is.
But we're gonna get to that, because that's some crazy fucking shit. But first, the Mets hadn't won a title since what, 68 or
69?
69. And so that team in '86, I was in 6th grade. And I went to, elementary school on the Upper East Side, and everybody was a Mets fan.
Right.
And fucking you and Gary Carter and Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden and Wally Backman were great heroes in New York. And what was it like to be so young and a hero in a city as big as New York?
It was, like I said, there's a lot of players. New York is not the city for them, because New York, the fans are educated. The fans let you know if you play well, and they let you know if you don't play well. The fans, we had a great relationship. When I got traded to Philadelphia, the same thing. They took a liking to me because I was an underdog. See, remember, 80% of the population out there, life isn't easy for them. And so, they don't want to see some pretty boy, 6'2", that everything comes easy to. And so I was a fighter and scratcher, and I wasn't supposed to make it to the major leagues. And
why were you the underdog, though?
Well, I'm too small, number one. I'm only 5'9", and everyone said I was too small. That's the main reason. But,
That's also why you were a fan favorite, though, too.
Yeah, because, and I played hard. See, so, what I did is when I played... See, I realized early on I was in the business of entertainment, of putting people in the seats. So when I would get done playing, what I would do is I would take a minute or 2 minutes, I'd go sit in my locker, and I'd say to myself, okay, if I were a fan, would I have paid money to watch me play tonight?
Right.
And then the answer to that was yes, even if I took an over 4, because you're going to take over 4s. But if you do it the right way, I could say yes, and because I always played hard and played right. There's only one time I didn't say yes, and that's kind of a crazy story.
Well, tell us really quick.
Well, so as I got older, and this is when I was in Philadelphia, Fergosi, my manager, would give me Sunday day games off after Saturday night games, because it gives you more time to recover. And we were in Florida, and there was no dome, and in the day games there, the fucking heat, dude, the rain, it's like, and, this is where I'm at the peak of, I'm taking more shit than, I have to check the scoreboard to see what the count is. But anyways, it was Saturday night, we got done, so I go out and get blasted, because I'm not playing Sunday. So I stumble in the clubhouse Sunday, and I look at the lineup when I'm leading off. And I look in the manager's office, and Fergosi's got a little grin on his face. I was like, you motherfucker.
Because he put you in that.
Yeah, because we were playing bad, and he Pearl Harbored me is what he did.
Why did he do it?
Just because we were playing bad, and he just
wanted to shake things up.
Yeah.
All right.
So now I say, wait a second. There's not enough drugs. There's not enough. I can't play. I'm not gonna. I can't. So what am I gonna do? So what I did, I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get thrown. I'm gonna get run out. I'm gonna get thrown out of the game. And Eric Gregg was behind the plate. Remember big fat Eric Gregg? He was a umpire. He's passed now, but he was a big umpire. So I forgot who was pitching for Florida. First pitch, he throws right down the middle. He called it a strike. I said, "Fuck you, motherfucker! You fat fuck this that." I went off on, just went nuclear on him. And he said, "Lenny, I already know it. Jimmy already told me." He said, "If I'm going to be out here in this heat for 2.5 hours, you're going to be out here in this heat for 2.5 hours."
So he knew you were trying to get kicked out of the game.
Fergosi he ran like I did. I mean, you know, when I played, I ran. You know, I partied hard and I played hard. And Fergosi, yeah, he did know. He knew, and so I ended up hitting a double that game somehow by luck. It was a bloop double. I literally got to second base, and I couldn't get air because, you know, when you fuck with opiates, they really fuck with your respiratory.
Your lungs, yeah.
You know, you're always trying to catch your breath. So, like, remember, it's a day game, and it's like 190 degrees in Florida, and like, I couldn't catch my breath. I started panicking. You know, the shortstop walks over and saying something. I said, "Get the fuck out of here!" You know, and so, like, I'm just saying, like, has anybody ever died like after hitting a double in baseball? No, I'm saying, and I can't breathe. And you start panicking. I'm starting to catch my breath. And I just said, "Don't die out here. Don't die out here." I'll never forget it.
You said you hadn't touched a drug until you were in the major leagues. Had you drank?
Or drink, no.
Okay, so walk me through that. When did partying become part of your life?
Well, when I got to the Mets, I had some beers, you know, in the big leagues. Remember, it was all about getting to the big leagues. So
but in college, you didn't have a drink.
I didn't go to college.
You didn't have
I got drafted right out of high school.
Okay, in high school, you didn't party with your friends? Not at all?
Didn't even have friends. Had one.
Who was the catch buddy?
Some guy that his name was Glenn Fairchild.
Okay,
I wanted to be a player, but the bottom line is that was my way out of the middle. Everybody has certain gifts, and my gift was playing baseball. And
my gift is just to have the greatest recovery podcast of all time.
Yeah, and that's, you're doing a great thing because there's so many people out there right now walking around that are trapped in a different kind of prison, and I'm referring to opiates, you know, and I know that world so well and know so much about it.
But before we get that, I want to hear the beginning of your drugs and drinks in New York.
Yeah, well, the drinks, again, I was never a big drinker because I was a leadoff hitter, and I couldn't, like, drink these, you know, my teammates could drink beer after beer. And
would they drink during the games? Was that a thing?
Sometimes maybe on rain delays or something, you know, to kick in amphetamine, you know. Like, I think at the end of my career, I might have, you know, had something to, you know. See, playing on the East Coast, the fans don't realize. When you play on the West Coast, okay, you know you're going to play every night because you're not going to get rainouts. So when you're a drug addict and you're on the East Coast and there's rain delays, because remember, so for instance, my highest batting average at the stadium I had my highest career batting average was in Houston because they had a dome. See, so I was a chemist. I knew exactly when to launch. I'd take my first 30 milligram dexedrine, okay, like at 3, and I'd kick it with another, you know, one around 4:30, and then I would take the 5 mil, the hearts, you know, the dex. This was before Adderall, and so I had this whole, you know, system, and again,
like the Elvis Presley of baseball.
Yeah, but the amphetamines, you know, they've been part of baseball for a long time.
Forever, right?
Yeah,
and that's, again, equating it to entertainment. Just like they were in entertainment, they were in sports. But as a fan, you don't know that everybody's on them.
And, you know, once you go there and once you get them, to go out there naked, is that we call it, you know, to go without it, it's like you're not doing it. Because you know there's something that can help you. Okay?
Right. And if you don't do it, you're fucked.
Yeah, and then you say to yourself, what the fuck, what am I doing, man? I could have taken that. Because, you know, you're traveling, you're on the road, and I remember playing in Frisco, and Dusty Baker, the manager, was cool. He said, "Hey, you got any more of them LA turnarounds?" I said, "What?" He said, because the players know who's lit up, who's not. And I said, what? He says, that shit you're taking? He said, man, you could fly to L.A., turn around and play again. He said, because I was saying, I actually had the Black Beauties in. Those are hard. They don't even make those anymore.
That's an old speed.
Yeah, it's called the Soxin or something. But, but amphetamines have been a part of baseball, but not no more. Drugs are now out of baseball.
Tell me, who was the first person that gave you amphetamines in baseball? Is that where it started with amphetamines, or did it start with beer?
No, I mean, the beers I just drink more lightly. I never was a heavy drinker. Still not. You'll never see me drunk. You'll never see me it's just I can't. But see, I was more of okay, it's FDA approved, it's regulated, so it's got to be fine.
But who gave it to you? How did
Larry
it happen?
Boa was the first one that gave one to me.
Who's that?
Larry Boa.
Okay.
Larry Boa had a long career, and he was at the end of his career, and he said, hey, kid, try one of these.
It always starts with, hey, kid, try one of these.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and next thing I know, I'm fucking zooming, dude. We were in Candlestick Park, and it was cold. Some of the coldest games I've ever played, it was in August in Candlestick Park. It was crazy.
It's cold at night in San Francisco, right?
It was there, man, right off that bay. But he said try one of these, and I forgot what he gave me, but it was some kind of we call them greenies. They call them greenies in baseball. And they, again, they've been around though forever. They used to throw it in their Gatorade, but like I said, baseball is cracked down now to the point where you have to have all kinds of doctor sign-offs. So drugs it's pretty much drug-free.
So nobody's taking drugs in baseball at this point?
Well, I mean, you got fringe players that are on their way out and have nothing to lose. You might as well load up. There's guys that are taking them that are ADD. The first year so what baseball did is they did the drug testing. They kind of did it very slowly. They ramped up. So the very first year they did it, 370 guys claimed they were ADD.
Because of the Adderall or whatever.
Yeah, it got more stringent. Where you had to get two doctors, and then you see MLB's doctor. But when they first started, it was like, okay, you can only take them if you have ADD, if you have a prescription. So, like I said, half the players, there's 700 players in the major leagues. Half of them were all of a sudden had ADD.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. But, I mean, once you get that, it's speed.
The rush.
Yeah, I mean, it's speed. You get the energy. You're tired. You're beat up. It helps you overcome things. And to say it doesn't help you would be lying.
Right.
But long term, it's again, they call them drugs for a reason. If you even just look at the word and the way it's spelled, drugs, it's so fucking ugly.
It is an ugly word.
It's an ugly word, man. It's weird how that is. I mean, drugs. It just sound. But again, I just did what I had to do to get on the field. But what happened was it led to me doing it off the field. Meaning,
how did that happen? What was that transition like? How did the party start off the field? Because you'd be amped up when you got off the field.
Well, what happened is, and more about the off season. So when you start taking opiates, let's say, okay, meaning because opiates, there's a feeling of euphoria where when you first start opiates, you literally, someone can tell you, what, your family just went down in a plane crash, and you'd say, what, we'll figure it out.
Right.
It's all good, we'll figure it out. But on the flip side, when you abuse opiates and everybody's different for, what I mean is it's different for everybody when you cross that imaginary line. At the end of the day, though, what happens is you're in the same car going down the same road with the same destination, and that's a dead end. Meaning, so if you want to get there faster, take heroin. If you want to get there slower, take Vicodin. But eventually, you're going to get there.
Right.
And by the way, there's no exits on that road. You can't say, I don't feel good, I want to turn around. No, you're going to pay. Okay? And so, when, it happened to me, I was taking them because the trainers gave them to me and they worked.
Well, why did the trainer get you? Were like, I'm sore, I have aches and pains, whatever.
Yeah, what happens as a player, I have a whole chart of performance of players when they hit, like, in their 20s, and then they hit 30, they go straight down. It's not because they want to be bad players, they're not trying as hard. They're physically not capable of performing at the same level they could in their 20s. And my teammates, I would watch them drink 20 beers a day to take their pain away, and I can't do that. I'm a leadoff hitter. So I said to the trainer, there's got to be something, man. I mean, he said, well, try one of these. It was a little white pill. Turned out to be a 5 milligram Vicodin.
Right.
And which I used to put in my cereal at the end, But that being said, I literally thought I reinvented the wheel.
When that hit you, it was 1993. The first time you had
one pill, had one drink, and fucking, So I was, I had a head change, had a little bit of a buzz, but I was able to rebound and play and show up, and that worked for a long time. Okay, and next thing you know, like anyone that's been there does know, I started waking up like with sweats, and like I was like, I didn't know what the fuck was happening to me, and so it got bad. So I just signed a big contract with Philadelphia, so I was kind of scared of like. How
big was the contract?
$30 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, see, well, they make that a year now, but what I'm saying though is, it was a $6 million contract for 5 years. But where I'm going with that is, I knew something was wrong, but I was afraid that the Phillies would find out. So like, I went and looked up all these addiction specialists, and so when I went to visit them, I put on like disguises.
What would you have? Fake mustache and stuff?
Whole shit. It's fucking hilarious. And then I latched on the third guy, the first to get the last guy.
Well, how long were you taking the Vicodins before you started sweating, before you started realizing that you had an issue?
About a year.
Okay, and you were taking them every day?
Yeah, every day, and then I started taking them in the off season. Because remember, when you get to that place, when you there's a place, there's a certain euphoria, feeling like. I mean, like, as you know, like, you have if you take a line and draw it and you put normal right there. So when you, like, the dopamines in your brain, or the feel-good part and your endorphins, when like you work out or you see something or you have an orgasm or whatever, you kind of bounce up into the feel-good area and bounce back to normal. But you don't shoot up like you do when you take a handful of pain pills or dope.
And stay there.
Yeah. I mean, meaning, so you shoot up to a place that's called euphoria, where you're literally high, and it's a feeling that you, again, try to catch, and you keep trying to figure out a different way.
And you want to keep it. I remember when I first tried heroin, I got sick. But when I second tried heroin, I was like, I want to feel like this as often as I can. But I was like scared. But then it would be, the more I did it, the more I realized to not be on heroin would be a problem for me. And I needed to stay on it. I mean, forget about the withdrawal and forget about the actual, not the withdrawal, the not taking it. I wanted to be that high. To not be that high didn't seem like the way to live.
Again, when you're dependent on a drug, and especially on opiates, more than any drug, because opiates are physical, like, you spend half your time managing your fucking pills. Okay, you don't have enough to last me. But at the end of the day, unless somebody's been in opiate withdrawal, it's indescribable, because you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like look that bad. Like, you don't, but to the feeling inside, it's almost like there's a fire inside. And you have no energy. I mean, it's unexplainable.
Most of our fans who call themselves the Dopey Nation, or who we call the Dopey Nation, like, a lot of them are clean, a lot of them are using, a lot of them know what it's like to go through opiate withdrawal, and I know what it's like to go through opiate withdrawal. And I would say opiate withdrawal, it's like the worst flu, except it comes because you don't do dope. It comes because you can't get drugs, and you know that you're going to get better if you do, which is the worst part, because you're basically depriving yourself from feeling okay.
Exactly, and the thing about it is it's not like you can say, I'll fight through this. So what happened was, I found the doctor, and then his name was Dr. Berman, and he tried to detox me. This was before they had buprenorphine and
Suboxone and all that stuff, yeah.
And so the way he detoxed me was with methadone, okay?
I was on methadone for 5 or 6 years.
The worst drug in the world, 6-year bones. So I'd get to, he was a great doctor, by the way. He saved my life. But I'd get to the end, and the fire was still burning to the point where I'd just buzz. I'd go to my bolt to my pharmacist, get 12 Vicodin, and swallow them all at once, and just go lay down on the there's this park I used to go to, and just let them get in my bloodstream and get out of withdrawal.
You always just took the pills orally. You never snorted them or smoked them or shot them or anything.
No, I've never put a needle in my arm, and again, I had a lot of money then, so I didn't really need to.
You just take the pills.
Yeah, I took the pills, and I started snorting Dilaudid, though, at the end.
You started snorting Dilaudid at the end?
Yeah.
Before we jump into how you got off opiates, I'm just curious about the Mets in '86.
Yeah.
That's like a legendary team, but it's also like a legendary drug-using team.
Well, I mean, I think,
by reputation, at least. Is that bullshit?
It's kind of like, he caught a 6-foot fish and then turned into a 12-foot fish. And
so you're saying that Daryl and Dwight weren't swimming in pools of cocaine?
No, I think they were doing a lot. It was Powder City with them guys, but we never saw it. I never saw cocaine.
You didn't? So you weren't snorting coke?
No. With the Mets, I didn't do any drugs. I mean, the Mets, all I did was drink a little bit. I didn't need drugs. I mean, until the end of my career with the Mets, when Boa, gave me amphetamine. But again, that was here and there because I was still young, man.
How close-knit a team was it?
It was close. We had a good... See, that team was so good because it had the blend of veteran players with young players. And... But as far as the big party, that was our Phillies team in 1993. We were all fucking lit up, and fucking nobody wanted a part of us, man. Steroids, amphetamines, and plus the fans, and nobody wanted to play us because we were all. I mean, again, I was no one even needed to go to a pharmacy. I could fill any script people wanted filled.
How would that work?
I mean, I had 5 or 6 people on the payroll, and they'd be going to doctors and consistently because money has the ability to put you in a position where you can makes it easier for you to continue to take the drugs.
Of course. I mean, I had a hard time finding drugs a lot of the time, and I was poor. You know what I mean? But I still could keep my fucking habit. You were a very, very wealthy man with 1 million doctors on the end of the string. Yeah,
but at the end of the day, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're a professional Major League Baseball player making millions of dollars or you're a guy living on the street. Opiates don't discriminate, okay? And so at the end of the day, you're going to be at the same place as whether you're a millionaire or whether... See, I always was just... I came from this place, I'll figure it out. I'm not like the rest of these people. I'll find the loophole and find my way in that'll work. So after trying that 10 times, you realize you have higher lows and lower highs each time because your receptors of your brain, it remembers. So now it became to the point where you literally okay, do you want to just bang your head against the wall? Because that's what you're doing.
Right.
And you know that. So for me...
Well, the drugs stop working is what you mean.
They stop working, but you think that because you take a little break, you start back up, that you're going to be okay. And people that shoot heroin die on that because
you think you're going to get as high as you did, or you can handle what you used to handle,
right? And
without a tolerance.
Exactly. So, but at the end of the day, what I went through to get off of opiates, if I see an opiate, it makes me sick.
Right.
I mean, they're disgusting to me. Because I remember, the pain. I remember what I went through. and I also know what's waiting for me. When you cross that line, your endorphins stop working, so now you're solely dependent on the fake. And again, I call it like the bully, meaning, so the human body is an amazing piece of equipment, and it'll fight for you a long time. Your endorphins will keep churning, and what happens is, your receptors, they keep cleaning out, so there's a pathway for the drug to get to that feel good part of your brain. But when they quit on you, okay, and they'll fight for a long time, but eventually they say, we fucking quit.
Right.
Like, we're tired of getting our ass kicked by this bully. Okay, and that's the fake one. That's the Vicodin or the heroin. And so when they shut down, now that hole starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and it becomes almost like a pinhole. So you're trying to jam as much. All you're trying to do is get back to normal. You're not fucking high. You just want to stay out of being dope sick.
You just don't want to be sick, yeah.
I mean, because that's your life, okay? Every day trying to stay away and trying to figure out how not to get dope sick.
And how often would you, if you're on the road with the Phillies, how often would you run out of pills?
Never.
All right, so you weren't getting dope sick.
No, but I still was sick. I mean, because we haven't gotten into the stomach problems. How many times you have to go to the bathroom, the constipation, all the nightmares and side effects that go with it.
Right.
I mean, there's so much more than just...
And in terms of the pills, your pill was Vicodin. That was the one that had you.
That started me. And then, I get smarter. I mean, meaning...
Was it Percocets and Dilaudid?
I went through all that, but I ended with Dilaudid because Dilaudid I could snort, and they were straight. They give to cancer patients straight synthetic
heroin.
Yeah, so
Dilaudid was the first opiate I took, and it just blew my mind. In college, somebody gave me some pills.
They're hard to get, man.
Yeah, well, I was lucky, so to speak.
They're hard to get.
I was obviously not lucky, but I thought I was lucky, and that was the drug that everybody wanted to steal in the movie Drugstore Cowboy when he could get his Dilaudid. So I was like, holy shit, it's Dilaudid.
Yeah, now it's what's killing people is them patches.
The fentanyl.
Fentanyl, right? And again, anybody that thinks they can beat opiates is lying to themselves, and it's only going to end bad.
Well, you can beat it by giving up.
No, beat it meaning thinking they have the solution to take them and they're going to be okay.
Right?
Like they're not. Look, their blood's just as red as ours. Okay, there'll be a point when they cross that line too, and the opiates now turn on them, okay, and their body turns on them, and they're in that same prison that you've been in and I've been in, and it's a different kind of prison. It's almost worse than the prison, real prison, because of the physical pain. And I'm not a pussy either.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's to the point where you literally will do anything to put the fire out. That's why I say, whoever sells fucking dope, dope dealers are stupid, because someone will shoot you. Like, you're in such withdrawal and pain. Give me them fucking things. You'll shoot them. You know what I mean? And again, it's kind of, again, it's a touch and go subject, but the government had to crack down on how they were writing the scripts, but they've, again, like they always do, they went overboard and made it so hard for doctors and so dangerous for doctors to write. So people that are getting opiates can't get them, so they end up going to heroin. And, I was at a couple of rehabs, and I was with these, clean-cut, rich kids, and I'd say, did you ever picture yourself putting a needle in your arm? And every one of them said, no fucking way. But that's where they ended up. Right.
I never pictured myself sticking a needle in my arm either, and that's where I ended up. How many times did you try to get off before you got off?
Oh, numerous, man. And then there were times that, at the beginning I'd get off and think, okay, I did good. I took a month off. Now I can do it again, and then...
Right. You reward yourself to go back.
But it's back to the same place, and so eventually, only a fucking idiot would just keep going. Meaning, because it's See, when you know what's waiting for you, I knew what was waiting for me if I went back again. Now I'm talking after like 10 times and saying, okay, I'm going to do it different this time. Okay, I'm only going to take 2 and then 2. I'm going to monitor it. I'm going to do this. It's all bullshit.
The wean is impossible.
It's all bullshit. At the end of the day, man, if you're on opiates, you're going to pay. And there's going to be a price. And it's a heavy price.
Yeah.
Because it's physical and mental and
it's soul-sucking.
Yeah, and it sucks the life out of you. You have no desire. You have no energy. You lose your drive.
So what did you do? How did you finally get off of it?
So with Dr. Berman, I said to him, like, I can't fucking live like this, man. Like, we kept trying to detox. And I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something I can do. And he said, well, there is something, but it's dangerous. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, there's a new procedure that's out there, but it's not in this country. I said, well, where is it? And he said, Israel. I said, isn't that where they're fucking blowing up motherfuckers every day? It was right in the heat of like the 90s, in the late 90s. And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. And he said, you'd only be the second patient in the world to do it. I said, well, did the first one live? He said, yeah. And I said, okay. And he said, and it's $250,000. I don't give a fuck about the money. So he said, yeah, it's risky. Like, I suggest you don't do it. I said, I'm fucking doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I booked a plane on LL Airlines that night. Hired my fucking Israeli hit squad to pick me up. And, I did it alone, okay?
And what was it?
It turned out to be what's now rampant out there. It's called Rapid Detox.
Do they still even do it? I remember when I was
it's
deep,
everywhere.
When I was deep in my addiction, I'd always be like, I just want that rapid opiate
the thing is,
detox.
It's funny you asked that. It's not what everyone sells it to be like. Oh yeah, man, they put you to sleep for 10 hours and you wake up opiate free.
I thought they should put you to sleep for like 3 days.
Yeah, no, it's like 10 hours and they fill you with naltrexone but you don't wake up like, oh man, no, you wake up like you won 10 rounds with fucking Tyson.
Right.
Because, look, but and remember, it takes a while for your endorphins to start trusting you again, meaning the reason why it takes a while, because, like, they kept fighting for you early on and bouncing back, but now they don't trust you. I'm talking about your natural endorphins that keeps you out of withdrawal, the way you feel now, the way I feel now. I'm not thinking about a pill. I'm not thinking about, okay, when do I got to take my next, or do I have enough opiates, or where are they doing? Meaning that whole insanity. It's insane. But it's insane because the price on the other end is so heavy, meaning the feeling of being sick is, but again, when I went there, I cried prior to that one time in my life. And that was when I was 8 years old. My mom wouldn't let me play in a Little League game because I had a high fever. And I was like, I cried. But I never cried in, like,
pain.
Well, what happened was, on my way over to Israel, I got fucking hammered, okay? On the plane.
What'd you take?
Drink, took everything, everything. And so when I got there, my security picked me up. I said, take me to my doctor. Okay? And it was when I got to Israel, man, it was like there's no high buildings. It's it's much different, like almost poor looking. But they take me there and I walk in and it's like a house, kind of like this. And I walk in and all I see is the back of a guy's head, his feet up on the windowsill, smoking a cigarette. And I said, excuse me. He turns around. He's got scars, fucking torn up burns to the cigarette. And I was like, what the fuck? And I said, like, am I going to be okay? Like what?
Was he the doctor?
He was the doctor. I nicknamed him Dr. God. And so something came over me, man, like, because I was in another country. I was getting ready to go do a procedure no one's done except one other person, and I just broke down, and started like crying. And he came over to me, and he kind of pinned me up against the wall. And I still remember his Israeli cigarette breath, And he said, and he looked me right in the eyes, "I'm not going to let you die." And it was like powerful, bro. I can't explain it. It was like, so I nicknamed him Dr. God. Next thing you know, fast forward, I'm like in the fucking hospital bed, and they put a diaper on you, okay? And I hear all this Hebrew speaking. I don't know what they're speaking. And at the right before they put me under, I just remember Dr. God putting his hand like on my shoulder and saying, "You're going to be all right." And then after I woke up, I mean, I lived, but I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I mean, it took me 3 days just to move, man. I was on the Red Sea, and someone said Egypt was across, but eventually I went to Old Town and got to see where Jesus was born. I didn't know he was born in 10 different places,
Yeah, right.
The big tourist deal.
Of course. So after you did it, how did you felt like shit? How did you feel?
I felt like shit, man. But as time passes, and
you stayed in Israel how long?
About 2 weeks.
All right, so that's enough time to know that you can live without.
Yeah, no. Again, I started getting a little stronger and stronger, and again, my endorphins, my body, they started. Because remember, they stopped trusting me, meaning they quit on me. They said, "Fuck you, man. We keep fighting for you. We keep fighting for you, and you keep bringing this bully back in, beating the shit out of us." So we quit. So to get their trust back, it takes time. So they slowly come back, and you slowly start getting, becoming better, and you start feeling better. And then eventually, they trust you, and now you're firing on all cylinders, and you're back to normal. That being said, if I started using today, after I've been off, I've never taken an opiate since 1998. And I can say that proudly, because only a fucking idiot would do that. I already know what's waiting for me.
There's lots of addicts who are, maybe they're not the brightest bulbs in the bunch. Maybe they're not idiots, but they can't not do it again. How did you not take another pill?
Because I'm not the smartest guy either, but I'm not. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out each time you do it, you have one day you get high one day.
So you're saying 98 is when the last time you took the pill?
98, yeah, and like I said, I just went through some extensive oral surgery, and like when the doctor, he didn't know my past. When he wrote the script, I said, "Throw that away." Didn't even think about it. It's not even an option for me because I know what's waiting on the other end.
Right.
I've been there. If anybody could have beat opiates, it would have been me. I had all the money, I had the best doctors, I had, everything figured out. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are. They don't discriminate. You can have all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, you're going to lose. You can't beat them.
So after all that happened, were you still drinking? Did you ever do coke? Did you ever do other drugs after all that? Because you got involved in some crazy stuff after that.
Well, I mean, like, I never was a big... The other drugs that I did was more, like, for partying, and I was still young.
Like, what would you be doing?
I mean, do a rail off a chick's tit or something, But I was never, like... it was never Powder City for me. I never shot anything. I remember trying ecstasy one time... and it was great, actually. And it was so funny. I was with one of my teammates.
Who were you with?
I can't say the guy's name.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, but it was a teammate, and my drug dealer in Beverly Hills' name was Dino. Perfect fucking drug dealer. And, he'd bring us our blow and our, whatever. I didn't smoke pot. I never smoked pot. I smoke pot even today. I feel like a 2-year-old can kick my ass.
Right.
I don't know how. I don't get it. How do people
It affects different people differently.
I mean, literally like a 2-year-old can kick my ass, dude. But anyway, so Dino, he says, I say, "Hey, dude, what's that pill with that Mercedes emblem on it?" He said, "That's Axe." I said, what is that? He said, "Axe, bro? You don't know what Axe is?" Hollywood, dude, I said, "No." He says, "Oh, man, you got to try X, man." He says, "But look, if you've never taken it, I suggest you take half. I looked at my buddy and I said, this fucking got half. I said, we never taken half of fucking anything. I'll take fucking 2. Anyways, when we took it, it was such a trip because I was putting on this party at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And it was my party, but we got on the couch and I said to him, like, dude, like, are you feeling anything? And he said, drink orange juice, all that bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. But I said, like, I don't know if I'm feeling anything. And he said, I don't either. Next thing you know, like, 3 hours go by and I get a call, and it's my limo driver who's got my car out there, and he says, look, Mr. Dykstra, I've been here for, I'm here. He comes and he said, I'm coming to the door. He knocks on the door, and I just fucking start laughing my ass. Like that laugh that you'd pay money for.
Yeah.
You know that laugh that you can't stop laughing?
Yeah, the hysterical.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, you'd get
the best.
You would pay for that laugh.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, man. Like, we could not get moving. And I remember the next day when we were both flying back home, we'd been there a while, and we had some extra pills, and because that night I said, fuck this, man, you can have mine. But the next day it was like, hey, like, you said you didn't want your pills, I'll take them, you know. But see, the thing with ecstasy was I didn't realize is because of the MDA, it's not a drug you can take daily.
No.
You become like the crypt keeper.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it really fucks with your endorphins.
Oh, dude.
And your serotonin.
You really, and you start looking in the mirror, and because you like.
How long were you doing that? How into ecstasy did you get?
Then this for like a week straight, you know, but then doing here and there, but I never was. Again, the only thing that I really abused. I mean, when I say abused, like, I mean, at the end I was at 35, 40 pills a day. But the other stuff was more, not that I'm co-signing for or saying that it's good, but I do. But powder, the blow wasn't like it used to be. It's all chemically now and stepped on. And
were you doing it when it was like the pharmaceutical blow? Did you get a lot of that stuff?
I did my first rail, man, and it tasted like it was like real like blow, like, you know what I mean? Like that you get numb, and it was, and plus it's kind of fucking cool with the chicks,
Well, they like it.
Yeah, you do a rail off a chick's tit.
How often are you doing rails off chicks' tits?
Well, I mean,
I don't think I ever did a rail off anybody's tits. I know that I didn't.
I get a lot of pussy, bro.
Well, I'm really curious.
I sell dreams, dude.
Well, we're going to get to your dream selling and you're wanting to pimp my father out in a second. But I'm curious about like all of the bullshit, or like the sort of, and I don't want to offend you, but the crime that got you into prison and all that stuff, like, because you weren't off.
It was bankruptcy fraud, though.
Oh, it was tax fraud that got you into prison.
No, well, they claimed
it was bankruptcy fraud. It was from Wayne Gretzky's house.
They claimed that. They said, I sold a piece of $700 furniture, but they wanted me. That's a whole different story.
It was a terrible, terrible fucking thing.
Yeah, because what I did is I caught some very powerful people doing some very bad things, and they were scared of me, and the only way they can stop me was to put me in prison. But again, I don't want to sound like somebody making excuses, because, did I do some things or a lot of things that I wasn't proud of or I'm not proud of? Yeah. But did I do something where I deserve my freedom to be taken away? No.
Right.
But what happened, and I don't live back there, okay? Even when I got to prison, I became someone. I actually became this guy named Gabriel Allen, who there was a series of books written by a guy named Daniel Silva, and because you'd have to check out and just to live and to fight through that in that cage, again, you're talking to a guy that never read a book before prison and never jerked off before prison.
Right.
So I not only became like an...
All of a sudden you're masturbating and reading constantly.
I'm like fucking Benihana, dude.
Right.
I jerk off, read, jerk off, read, jerk off, jerk off, read, jerk off. Well, what else can you do?
Right.
And think.
And there were no drugs in jail. There was.
Not where I was, man. I was in PC. I was in, protective custody, because they said if they let me out with the general population, they'd kill you. You know,
Right.
Would kill me.
Was it lonely in there?
Yeah, man, it was rough. You know, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of time to think, but you know, you fight through that shit. You know, you like the guy said, and you know, Morgan Freeman said, in that one movie,
Shawshank Redemption.
You get busy living, and you get busy dying.
Right.
Look, the bottom line is what's happened to me, and the fact I'm still above ground, because there was a car wreck, there was other things, and you know, there's also times you find God, and that's that time when you're laying in bed, and like, or not in bed, but you're just like, God, please get me through this. And I swear I'll never do it again if you get me through this, God. It's funny how you can find God when you're in your worst. It's your worst.
Totally.
You know,
I found God just because I had to, and I didn't even understand. Like, I didn't understand God. I still don't necessarily understand God, but I was told, you know, when I got clean, you better have a higher power or you're not going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't like the sound of it. I still don't like to say I found God. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like, I fucking prayed to a higher power and I got sober. You know, and I like did it like as almost not like as a joke, but I did it because someone told me to.
Yeah.
So I did it.
And again, you know, it's all about hope, man. And if you don't have hope, you know, you're fucked. Okay?
In all that misery, you were never like tempted to take pills or anything.
In what misery?
You know, jail and losing that money and blah blah blah.
No, the pills became that was the easiest thing for me to stop.
Right.
The opiates were because.
What was the hardest thing to change?
Probably my lifestyle. I mean, like, you know, like people used to say, I bought my own jet, you know, and I mean, I had all kinds of schemes and stuff, you know, where I'd tell my wife, you know, hey, there's a new rehab in Paris, and I want to, you know, do this for us. And again, I'm not proud of this, but you know, because in the off season, man, like, you're just not used to being home every day,
right?
And plus, you know, I was a pussy hound too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was the thrill of the kill.
So you might have been a sex addict, couldn't you?
Not so much sex addict. It was more about the thrill of the kill.
But I think that's
it was more about hearing these words. I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, if I had $1 every time I heard that, I'd be so rich. Because now,
to hear a woman say that,
yeah, you know, it's a thrill. Like now, like it's a process. I got to take a dick pill. I got to fucking get through this and that. Can't come. It's like, so like the process, and like, I mean, so again, but when I was young and 30 and could have $1 million, you know, sent to me in 20 minutes, you know, you pretty much could, you know, like, you're king of the world. You know, I walked around like I had a 15-inch cock, you know.
Did you?
No, man.
Well, that's the next transition. When I heard you on Howard in 2016, you know, the headline was that you were getting paid to fuck women, you know, and
older women, companions, you know, like,
yeah. The quote I read today was, "I didn't fuck them because their bones were too brittle."
Yeah, well, you could hurt them, you know, and it was more about companionship. I'm a giver, bro. I give back. I help people.
Is that still what you do? Is that part of your life now?
Well,
how did you get into that anyway?
Well, Beverly Hills, man, land of the great pretenders, La La Land.
Did somebody pimp you out for that?
Well, I don't know. I met an older woman. Someone, you know, she needed a companion. She was loaded. Her husband died, and again, you know, it wasn't so much about the money. Well, kind of about the money, but it was more about. I like helping people, you know. I mean, except this one. I had this one that wanted to relive her prom days, and that was fucking rough, bro. I mean, she wanted to make out like, man.
What was it? What was it?
Yeah, it's like an 80-year-old woman. Like, plus, you know, you're dealing with like an older woman. You're dealing with a gray bush. I mean, like, because they're not shaving, and so you just look left. I just said look left.
And that's how you dealt with it.
You look left.
And you're not doing it anymore? You're still doing it?
Nah, I was so down on that, you know. I mean, again, you know, but I like to help people. I give back.
So that whole thing was just, you know, giving.
Yeah,
it was to make them feel loved. And
right,
special.
They're lonely, and like I said, you know, you can't really like pound it too hard because their bones are very brittle.
How long did you do it for?
I don't know, about a year and a half, a couple years. You know.
Howard loved that shit. That was like his favorite thing he ever heard in his life.
Well, he loved it because it's all truths, and then Howard had me bring in some validators too.
I remember.
Yeah, and because it was, you know, I'm taping there on Valentine's Day actually, again in the studio.
Please say hello for me.
I will. Please. I'll tell him your story, man.
Tell him my story. Tell him when I snuck in.
That's a great story.
High on drugs, high on everything, and I gave him an award.
The award, I love that.
He's gonna be like, I remember that kid. There's no
Robin
way.
Figured you out.
There's no way he'll remember. But
Robin figured you out, though, huh?
Well, she said, "Look at him. He's obviously high." And then Howard was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And he's like, "I'm going to use your award for a doorstop, or I'm going to beat you over the head with it." And I love Howard. It's
funny how we think, you know, we're getting away with it, you know, and like.
It's funny because years later, I had a friend who worked at E, and they gave me the video of me on the Stern Show. And like, if you look at it, I don't look high. I look totally clear-headed. And it was just like it's just
lit up like a tree.
Oh, dude, I couldn't have been higher.
Like you know, you're in the big leagues when you arrive there. You know what I mean?
Totally.
That's the fucking.
But you were in the big leagues. You were at the top of the big leagues. You won a World Series.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, and then if anyone would have told me like, "Hey, you're going to write a bestseller," like I would have laughed at him when I was playing because I wasn't very good at English, and so like. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life was write that book, but and I wrote it myself, by the way, and so I became.
I heard the editor's concern was that there were too many bros, too many words, bro and dude. That was the editor's only concern with that book.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used the word pussy 52 times. But the thing about it...
Do you ever use pussy to describe someone who's cowardly or just a woman's vagina?
No. I call people pussies all the time.
Okay.
In baseball, for instance, if they were too far away from me, I would just put the signal down. You know, say, hey, motherfucker, hey.
You'd show the diamond with your fingers.
Yeah,
the pussy with your fingers.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know, because, like...
Who's the biggest pussy you played against in baseball?
There was. He wasn't so much a pussy, but he was a dick. The biggest dick I played was
Don Mattingly?
Barry Bonds.
Oh, Barry Bonds.
Yeah, motherfucker hung me out to dry in an All-Star game, and instead of walking him intentionally like I told him in between innings, I said, from now on, I'm gonna tell our pitchers just to drill you in the fucking neck. But that being said, let's forget about do you like him or not like him. Was he the greatest player to ever play? Absolutely.
He was.
So what's crazy, again, is the three greatest players in the history of baseball are not in the Hall of Fame. Okay?
Pete Rose.
Bonds, and Roger Clemens. And Roger Clemens won. Remember, he beat the Feds.
Right.
Okay? But again, you know, I had a big, like, knockdown drag out with the Hall of Fame committee when I was in Cooperstown signing autographs 2 years ago, when I said, I want to know what the fucking threshold is to make somebody a bad enough person to get in the Hall of Fame, because all these other people were using amphetamines. Everyone knows that.
And what'd they say?
I said, they didn't know what to say. I said, what's the fucking threshold? What makes somebody a bad enough person where they can't get in? I said, is this about baseball, or is this about being like, hey, I'm all for great guys. Maybe you have a great guy Hall of Fame. But if this is about baseball, you don't think that those guys... What about somebody beats their wife? Okay? What about that? That's okay? So what is the threshold? And then they wouldn't answer me. I said, I want to know what the fucking threshold is. Okay? So they escorted me out.
Well, wouldn't you say, because I'm not, I don't know very much about baseball.
Well, it's boring.
But what I would imagine
It's
is
boring.
because when a guy takes a fucking, because and who knows how, probably how long people were taking performance enhancing drugs, steroids, whatever. And but it wasn't on the horizon. It wasn't on anyone's radar. And when it became on somebody's radar, and they start testing everybody, and you find out that Barry Bonds is taking it, and he's the fucking greatest baseball player to ever live, they're like, we feel cheated because he's taking this shit. But had people been taking these drugs all along?
Well, the thing about it is, look, here's the deal with Bonds. If you take Bonds' years in Pittsburgh when he was skinny and wasn't on any drugs, okay, his stats would still be 5th best overall.
Right.
Okay, so, at the end of the day,
he was an asshole, though, huh?
Yeah, he was just a dick. He was selfish and you know what I mean? And, but let me give you an example of one of the years he had. I led the league in walks 2 separate years. Okay, one year I had 120 walks. One year I had 118. This motherfucker led the league one year. He had 275 walks. 75 of them were intentional. Okay, meaning
they didn't want to pitch him.
It was almost like little league numbers.
Right.
It was crazy.
Right.
And see, what Bonds would do is and what people don't understand when they're watching baseball is when you get a good pitch to hit, you have to drive that ball fair and put it in play and take advantage of it, and not foul it off. Because the pitchers are very there's a reason why last year Major League Baseball, there was more strikeouts than ever in history of baseball, because the pitchers are so good now, and they figured out how to get hitters out, and that is to deceive the hitter. See, life and baseball are kind of the same. You're always trying to get in a predictable situation. So if the count's 2-0, back when I played, you think the guy's going to throw you a fastball because he doesn't want to walk you. Now they'll throw you a curveball, a changeup to throw off your timing, because they have that confidence they can throw 3 pitches for strikes at any time.
Right.
So the game is much harder than you think. But that being said, the players don't play right. Probably 5% of the players play right. 95 don't. But they get away with it because of their talent.
You still watch baseball?
No, I don't really watch baseball. It's well, there's a few reasons. Number one is everybody's friends with everybody. They're all laughing and
there's no real rivalries.
Yeah, when I played, if I saw someone talking to the other team, I said, "Listen, that's a fucking enemy, dude. I see you talking to them again. We're fighting. We have one fucking motto here. We're gonna go to their house. We're gonna take their money and we're gonna fuck their women. Period. And if you're hurt, outdrug it. Get on the field."
Did you often fuck other players' wives?
No, I don't. I never fucked with wives. I never fucked with friends. You didn't need to.
I was ready for that story, though.
Yeah, no, I never went there. That all ends bad. Understand something. The promise of money is actually more powerful than the money itself.
The idea of becoming rich from it.
Well, the promise of money, meaning with a girl. See, once they get your money, you got no leverage.
Right.
But it's they promise, if you hit 300, we promise you we'll pay you $20 million.
Right.
Okay? So it's the chase. The promise of the money is what's more powerful. Once you get the money, then, I don't feel so good today. I'm getting the same amount of money, so I think I'll take the day off.
Right. You don't work as hard for it.
Now, when you're on a contract year, you're going to do whatever you have to do to get on the field.
You go nuts.
Because you're getting paid. And so they figured me out finally. Every third year after I'd have a 3-year contract, I'd hit 300. Party for 2 years, hit 300.
The thing about the show is we talk about dopey stories, and dopey stories are the most ridiculous drug stories you can think of.
I got one.
All right,
I got a lot, but
hit us with a good one.
Okay, my boy Mickey Rourke, he's a fucking cocksucker, owes me 30 fucking grand. And you hear me out there, Mickey? You pussy.
I'm sure Mickey Rourke is constantly listening to Dopey.
Nah, but he listens to a lot of shit. But when I went to, there was this, you probably heard of the place, it was famous, called Promises.
Yeah, in Malibu.
Yeah, like at the time, you had to be cool, you had to go there.
Uh-huh.
I was like, when I got there, and I'll tell you how I got there, it was crazy. But, so before I go, I was having me and Rourke were partying, hanging out. And before I go...
You and Rourke or you and Sheen?
Me and Rourke.
Okay.
And this leads into Sheen, though. But I said, fuck, if I'm going in there, man, I gotta have one more blowout. You know?
Yeah.
So I paid the money, you know, whatever, and I went to Beverly Hills Hotel, and next thing I know, I have 5 bungalows. And next thing I know, I'm on my fucking 10th day, and Promises keeps calling me, saying, where are you? Where are you? I said, fuck, I'll be there, man. Fuck it. I said, I'll be there. And finally, I get a call from the hotel manager, and it's like getting bad. And he says, Mr. Dykstra, your bill is now at $300,000. And like a wake-up call. And I happened to be like looking in the mirror, and like I had Mickey's fucking scarf on. I'm holding this little fucking dog. And like some clarity and reality hit me, and I'm like, wow, this is fucking bad. This is fucking bad. I said, Mickey, roll it up. We're getting the fuck out of here. So it gets better, though. So I still got more shit. So
what were you doing?
Some blow, pill, you know, whatever. Everything but opiates, man. Opiates.
So when you would do everything with opiates, what would you take? You would take ecstasy, cocaine, like Xanax and shit?
Yeah, I mean, Valium here and there.
You ever take acid?
No, I didn't. I took mushrooms once.
What about meth? Were you ever on meth out there?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
That was a terrible drug.
Isn't that like the biker's drug?
It was a lot of people's drugs.
Yeah.
It's the gays' drug. It's the bikers' drugs. It's the people who can't get coke's drugs.
Right. But again, remember, my whole deal was, for a long time, at least when I played it, was, it's FDA approved. It's fine. I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, really? Meaning, but so when I finally rolled up and get in the limo, and I got, still got my group with me, the hanger-oners, I parked that fucking limo right outside the gates of Promises.
Right.
And, like, they say, okay, come in. I said, well, no, not yet. Because I'm going to finish my shit. That fucking limo stayed there 5 days, dude. 5 days, okay? And finally I said, okay, open fucking up. I went in there, and I obviously went to a coma for like 4 days, and I woke up, and like guys are bossing me around, like I'm saying, what the remember, because when you got money and you're doing these things, there's this sense of entitlement.
Sure.
You give the orders, you don't take them. So I said, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Fuck this, man. Okay? And so you know who saw me? Charlie Sheen. So I was in there with, listen to this power group. I was the lowest man on the totem pole, okay? When I was there, you had Robert Downey Jr., Kiefer Sutherland, okay, Charlie Sheen, Gregory Peck's kid, Nick Cassavetes, a big director who did Blow, and then me. I was like the lowest. Because like remember Promises, it was like you had to go there to be kind of cool. So Charlie said to me, and I knew Charlie, from before. I had no idea he was there at the time, but we didn't start hanging out until much later. But he said to me in this cool kind of way, he said, bro, you can do what you want, but it gets better. He said, it gets better. And he said, you should try it, we'll hit some baseballs and this and that. And so, like, if he didn't do that, like I was gone. And it's so weird because when you go full circle, I had Charlie out a year before he was forced to come out. I had it all set up for him to go public before he was forced to go public.
You mean with the HIV?
Yeah, and being extorted and blackmailed, and it was, that was a really difficult time. I was with him through that whole thing, and it was a tragedy. But all that's a direct result of drugs.
Right. I'm curious, and forgive me for this. You said you had gotten off of the opiates in Israel, but then you were at Promises. What were you primarily at Promises for?
The party.
But like, what was the party exactly? It was mostly coke. Was it alcohol? Like, what was it?
Yeah, it was everything. You know, everything. But like, doing the powder, the alcohol, the mixing it up. But because remember, opiates didn't work anymore. Opiates was a dead end. There was no, when you open the door, there was nowhere to walk.
Right.
I've been down that road. Opiates. So remember, so what happened was, when I got off the opiates, it was like, okay, now I can fucking drink and party my ass off.
Right.
So I kind of went overboard.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, like, because getting off opiates, I never thought I would get off them ever. So like, that was like, I won the fucking war. Now I can drink and do that. And then I started like getting kind of bad there,
And you started to drink alcoholically and stuff.
Well, just not normal, okay? And so, again, and remember, I didn't have the opiates in me, because when you have the opiates in you can drink more, because you have, like, the tolerance, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
You like, so now I'm starting to get a little bit soppy, and, once my guy Dino, he dropped these fucking Mercedes things off, too. It's so funny. But again, it was, and then I finally figured out the trifecta that took me years to figure out. That was, I thought, I reinvented the wheel, and that was, I told Charlie, look, man, here's all you need to do, bro. Adderall in the morning, cut it with a fucking Valium, and take Ambien at night, and you're straight. So
that was your thing, amphetamines and benzos.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah. Amphetamines mainly.
Right.
Amphetamines.
And are you done with amphetamines now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm old now. I mean, it's...
After that Promises run...
I had 6 more countries, bro.
Huh?
I had 6 countries.
What do you mean?
I mean, I did that 6 off-seasons. I had 6 countries. I did that in fucking Paris. I did that in fucking Italy. And all I did is have one of my monkeys would pay the whatever it would cost, and I bought 30 days of flying around Europe chasing pussy.
Right.
I'm not proud of that, but it was like...
It was an adventure.
That's what you do when you're on that shit.
Right.
You don't make... You're not making decisions that you would make, like you would make today and I would make today.
Right.
Because you're insane.
Now, when I asked you on Twitter, are you clean now? And you were like, well, I have a few beers here and there.
Yeah.
And how does that work? Because most addicts can't fucking put anything in. If I had a few beers, it would probably go bad for me.
I think it has to do with age.
Well, I know a lot of fucking drug addicts who are older than you, and they can't have a few beers.
I'll be 56 in a few days, and it's just not the same, man. It's like, because there's not the party, there's not the reason. You don't have the reason to get. Meaning, it's just different now. And again, when you don't have the other stuff with it, for me, it's been, again, I'm just not. It's hard to get high when you get older. Again, the fact that I'm an addict is a fact, because like I lived and died with my pills, my opiates, and if I didn't have them, I mean.
It sounds like you lived and died for a bunch of things, like when you discovered the reinventing the wheel with the Adderall cut with the Valium, and I agree. I did the same stuff.
Trifecta.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked. It was.
I never took Ambien, but like I'm saying, you're an addict because you're an addict. Like you.
I like the Ambien.
I think you're an addict with your pussy hounding. I think you're an addict with your fucking pills.
Yeah.
And I think you're an addict probably in sports, and you're probably an addict with possibly alcohol.
Yeah, I have an addictive personality, no doubt.
You ever try meetings or no?
I mean, look, I don't shun against them, but I'm just not into the hugging and all that, and I didn't really need. See, remember, I had 3 years of probation.
Right.
And so, like, my probation officer told me, this is with the feds, he said, listen, how it works here is if you get caught, when we test you, and by the way, I'm going to test you, you're not going to know when, because they have so much money. And he says, if, like, you want to party one weekend and, like, get some girls and, like, maybe you get away with it, maybe time it right. But if you time it wrong,
you're fucked. You're back in prison.
And you start your sentence over. He said, so what will happen is I'm going to call you up and I'm going to say the federal marshals are on their way out, okay, and they're taking you back to prison. You're going to start your sentence over. And he said, I like you. You make my job easy, but I'm not losing my job for you.
Right.
So my program beat the fuck out of AA 7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Right.
There's no newcomer chips in my program.
Right. You're either going in or you're not going in.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it was easy to stay off drugs because they'd Pearl Harbor me anywhere.
Right.
I mean, like, I'd come on to go see my kids play. I'd have to get a traveling pass. I'd come off the plane in, like, Syracuse, and there'd be a PL waiting for me. And I'd say, okay, let's go. And I ain't got much to look at, but I'll hit the cup, But it was easy, and it felt good to knowing that you're clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's incredibly satisfying. I mean, for me, I love being clean. It makes my life.
It's just the opiates, bro. The opiates was the hardest thing, man. So anybody out there that's fighting, and again, the majority of people that are having drug problems are opiate related. And all I can tell you is that you can get clean, and once you do, you literally get out of a different kind of prison, because as you know, you were in prison, you were in opiate prison.
Oh yeah.
And without them, the pain is, so you have to, once you can get through that, and the key is to make sure you go to the right detox place so they know what they're doing, so they can alleviate a lot of the pain. But you have to know, and anyone that doesn't admit this is lying to themselves, because we've all tried it again. It'll be different this time. It'll be different this time. It's not different, okay? It doesn't matter how long you take off. Once you go, if you go back, okay, you're going to be in the same place. Higher lows, lower highs, faster and faster and faster. So why do it? Only a fucking idiot would do it.
Right.
Because you know what's waiting for you. Pain, misery, loss. Fucking, you're not getting high.
And you feel like you're free now, though.
Oh,
you feel free?
Freer. I mean, to me, getting off opiates, like I said, I went to Israel. I couldn't get off them. I mean, and like I could do pretty much anything I always wanted, but this pill, they controlled my life.
So you think, I mean, because it's just the weird thing to me is, like, because you did party afterwards, and you did find yourself in rehab afterwards, and you did find yourself in precarious situations afterwards, and the only reason you didn't take opiates is because of the physical addiction, right?
And knowing what's waiting.
Right. But you fucked with everything else. You didn't
I did.
You know?
So I justified that too.
Right.
But that was, you're talking back, 10 years ago.
Of course. And I just want to be clear, because we're doing a show about drugs, addiction, dumb shit, including recovery.
At the end of the day, man, look, we all know that if you take anything that alters your mind and you're an addict, that it's probably not going to end good.
Right. Before we finish, give me the craziest story from baseball, traveling. Craziest drug story. Or at home, whatever. Craziest baseball story.
Yeah. Well, what I tried to do one time is, I thought, like, wait a second. Like, if I'm taking amphetamines, like, blow will really be better.
Right.
But see, blow's not better because, you get jumpy and shit. And, like, when you take amphetamines, it's kind of like when you take off in an airplane.
Yeah, it's gradual.
Yeah, man, you're climbing and you kind of level out and then you descend slowly. Whereas blow, it's like It was
rocket.
So like it was a Sunday day game I'll never forget, and I used to come through the stadium early, and I went in the bathroom at the stadium and railed up. Okay?
In Philly?
Yeah, and rail powder fucking city, and tried to. And I was fucking. It was the most miserable. It was like, God damn, man. It was bad. It was, but there's been a lot more. I mean, like I said, on the road we have parties, and I used to show chicks, hey, take my steroids and load my pin up, and watch and pop it in there, because again, what are you going to do? The next guy, the guy next to you is taking steroids. Let him make $30 million, and you get fired and have to get a real job and take orders from somebody and make $60,000. I mean, so if you didn't do it, you
couldn't keep up.
Yeah, so you almost were forced to compete, to stay up there, because the amount of, it's all about money. Money changes the way people think. And I told Bud Selig this. I told Major League Baseball, your problem isn't drugs. Your problem is steroids.
Right.
Okay? Steroids, because they help your performance, and when your performance gets enhanced, you get paid more money.
Right.
Okay? And so at the end of the day, everybody was doing them.
Right, because it's an investment in yourself, basically.
Yeah, man, and you think about consequences later. That's what drugs do.
Right. Now, before we go, Mookie Wilson, good guy?
Loved him.
Loved Mookie Wilson. He's my favorite Met.
Just had some bad breath.
Did he?
Yeah, he had some bad fumes, but that's not...
Out of all the Mets, who had the worst breath, Mookie?
Oh, yeah, no.
Really?
Yeah, but great guy. Because remember, me and him competed for a position.
You platooned.
And so, but we got along great.
Okay, cool.
And Mookie was cool, man.
Yeah, he seemed
cool.
to me.
Fucking dude, man.
Right on. Well, thank you so much.
I love Mookie, the Mookster, man. Yeah, no, it's great, and you're doing a great thing, and like I said, I'll pop this out there on social media and try to get you some other people that can help, because
can you get me Daryl on the show with his ministry and his
I can.
I want Daryl.
Yeah, just understand something with Strawberry. I had to shower with that guy for fucking 6 years. Okay?
And
it was traumatizing.
Okay.
He's hung like a fucking swamp mule. Meaning he's the only player in baseball that ever had to tape his cock to his leg. I mean, this guy had a hammer on him, bro.
Why did everybody else tape their cocks to their legs?
No, he's the only one.
Oh, he had to actually do that.
He couldn't run. Well, I mean, I nicknamed him Soul Pole.
Wow.
I mean, but I'll get Straw. Straw is clean.
Yeah.
He looks fucking great.
Yeah.
Straw, he was my first roommate when I got to the big leagues.
Let him know about the show and see
I
if he'll
will.
come on.
I'll get him on. I'll call him up and get him on.
And Lenny, thank you so much for coming.
Awesome, man.
Love having
Thanks.
you on.
Yeah, man.
Right
thanks.
on. Sorry it took so long.
Nah, it was good.
So fucking Lenny Dykstra. How crazy is that? I grew up obviously in Manhattan, and Lenny Dykstra was a big deal, and it was pretty fucking crazy to have him on the show. And the craziest thing was that when he showed up, my dad was on his way out to my sister's to get dinner, and my dad wanted to take a picture with him, and he's like, "Wow, Lenny Dykstra, you're a hell of a ball player." I'm a Yankee fan myself, but you're a hell of a ball player. And Lenny Dykstra was like, "You're a really good-looking man." And one thing I wanted to say was that you could see dollar signs in Lenny Dykstra's head, because Lenny Dykstra thought he could pimp out my father, which is just hysterical. But my dad is a very handsome guy, so you can't. And Lenny is he knows how to turn a buck, if you know what I mean. But Lenny Dykstra, it was cool that he came on. Obviously, he's lived quite a life. That fucking Rehab with Mickey Rourke and Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer Sutherland, it's like, what a crazy thing that is. And if any of those guys are listening to the show, you guys are totally welcome to come on if you wanted to. I have a feeling that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be the one. He's going to be the one to break Dopey into the mainstream. If it wasn't Lenny Dykstra, it's totally Robert Downey Jr. Now, it's been a fucking hard week over here. My daughter got very sick, sinuses, and Linda got sick, and Linda's back went out, and I had fucking catering jobs every day where I was getting up at 5 a.m. And fucking dragging my ass all over the place. And last episode, when I was finishing it, I was fucking sick. And afterwards, somebody wrote me a message on Facebook. They were like, Dave, you really seemed like your old sweet self, but you sounded really mucusy, which is, I think, a great adjective, mucusy. And I wrote back, I had put a whole bit about complaining about how bad I sounded. I was like, but I didn't feel like complaining. And he wrote back, but we love to hear you complain. So I'm going to complain now for a minute. My life is very hard. It never stops. Fucking work, Dopey, family, work, Dopey, family, the train, waiting tables. My dad got strep throat last week. It's just like, it's been wall to wall. But, and this is one of those moments where somebody would say, you're probably going to get triggered to use. And I don't say this, to prove like how far along I am in recovery or whatever. It doesn't trigger me to use. And I didn't go to a meeting this week. It makes me realize that I need meetings. Like, I find myself in fights in places that I wouldn't normally be in fights, getting angry at people I normally wouldn't be getting angry with. And like, that's why I go to 12-step meetings, as a sort of fucking spiritual valve. I also got an email from some guy who was saying how great he thinks Dopey could be, how big it could be, but that my cursing inhibits the potential of how big it could be. And I wonder if that is true. If you guys have an opinion, send an email, dopeypodcast@gmail.com. Now I'm going to read an email that I really liked. It's from Tanisha. And the subject I loved is, no more Yankee my wanky. The donger need food. And he writes, or she writes, I think it's a she, but I'm not sure. Hey, Dave, I'm new to the Dopey Nation. I first heard about Dopey on This American Life. Even though I know that Chris passed, I decided to start from the beginning. I just listened to episode 43, and I wanted to comment on the discussion about your late arrival to the game of affliction. I, too, am afflicted. I'm almost 44, and I've been clean for just about 18 years. It's impressive. I got clean at 26. I don't believe in the gateway theory because the first drug I ever did was a speedball. Before that first speedball went into my arm, with a shared needle no less, I had never touched a drop of alcohol, smoked weed or cigarettes, or done anything else. And yes, that first hit felt like Jesus was swaddling me in a warm, sunny field of flowers, and I knew I was all in. Everything made sense. Everything clicked, and it felt just right. I was instantly in love. I was 18. Over the next 6 years, I tried everything else except PCP. But I always came back to my beloved heroin. I guess I just like to start at the top and work my way down. Just like everyone else with the affliction, I have a myriad of tales of woe, self-destruction, and self-loathing, as well as some funny stories. Stories that are funny now and funny to anyone else with the affliction, but not stories that would be funny to someone who isn't. Even after all these years, I still love it. Sometimes I miss it, and in my moments of sadness, I want it, but I know that it ruins me and I stay away from it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not white-knuckling it by any means. My life is good and I have too much to lose, a husband and 3 kids. I just wanted to share that not everyone tiptoes into the water of affliction. Some of us dive in head first. I've really enjoyed listening to your podcast. It makes me laugh. I'm reminded of things that are from a completely different life. Thanks for the laughs and for speaking so candidly about a subject that is often only spoken of with sadness and despair. I don't regret those years of active use because I learned so much about myself. Keep up the great work. Toodles, Tanisha. Love that, Tanisha. Thank you very much. I've been getting a ton of really, really beautiful emails and messages, and I really love to hear from you guys. So keep sending them in. I would love more voicemails. I would love some straight up Dopey stories. Dopey always could use Dopey stories. So send in a Dopey story. I've said this till I'm blue in the face, but I'll keep saying it. Make it around 5 to 7 minutes, because that is the sweet spot. Make it funny. Make it ridiculous. Send it in. Be active. We love to hear from you. Again, I love hearing songs and stuff. I never got to thank Joey Pepper. I don't know if he's still listening or not. He sent me these Dopey decals, these really, really intense stickers. But it seems like the application process is very complicated, and I struggle reading directions. So I've also been really, really, really busy. Like, and it sounds so lame to say it, but I'm like going from one thing to the next. And just the baby, there's also a whole other thing that's top secret that I'm keeping from you guys, but eventually I will tell you about. I think I'm going to play you a Dopey voicemail, and I'm going to be out. So here is a Dopey voicemail. Hold on for 1 second. It's from this woman, and she doesn't want me to say her name, but I don't remember the name she says on the voicemail. So here we go. The audio quality isn't perfect, but, what are you going to do?
Hi, Dopey Nation. My name is, we'll just say Natalie. I don't really want to use my real name, but I actually was just listening to the most recent episode of Dopey with Dave and his longtime friend Rob, and I decided, since I'm on kind of a long road trip right now, to grow the Dopey Nation with some Dopey, and I wanted to tell the story about when I went through meth psychosis and basically lost my mind. So I am 6 years, a little over 6 years clean off IV meth and heroin. I pretty much only did heroin to maintain. I really like the uppers a lot more, and that was more of my drug of choice, the meth. So towards the end of my addiction, my boyfriend at the time, but he's actually now my husband, and that's a completely different story. Crazy, but completely different. Maybe I'll send in another voice memo at a different time. But we were together during our entire addiction and still together now, and we were staying in random hotels all the time and meeting all these crazy people. And one day, we had been up for 3 days. We always call it the 3-day syndrome. Day 1 and 2, you're fine, and then on day 3, you completely lose it. And we were in our hotel room trying to just settle down for the night, and I was going through complete meth psychosis. So I thought people were outside the door. I thought people were trying to break into our hotel room, and just off-the-wall stuff. And that was in between me on the carpet searching for drugs that were not there, that never got dropped there, and tearing up the carpet and sideboards in the hotel. But my husband was like, you need to take a shot of heroin and settle down now. And so I did a shot of heroin, but the mess that we got, I don't know if it had bath salts in it or something, but I wasn't able to settle down like it usually would with the heroin. So I was just going further and further and further into meth psychosis. I was basically wrapping my head in flat clothing and tried to dress up as a ninja. I was peeping out the people. I put some tissue in the people because I thought people were looking in. And then my poor husband, he was not going through meth psychosis at that time, and he was having to take care of me. And so I don't know what happened, but eventually I passed out. I think he ended up giving me Xanax, and then I passed out. And then when I woke up in the morning, he had passed out and was holding me, basically, probably holding me because I was trying to break out of his arms or something in the middle of the night. But I look over to the door, and all of our luggages were just stacked in front of the door, covering the bottom of the door and everything. And I looked to my husband, and I wake him up, and I said, honey, why are all our luggages in front of our door? They were stacked strategically in front of the door. And he's like, honey, you were screaming and crying that people were coming by our door and throwing shards of meth under the door. And it was scaring you because you didn't want to do any more meth. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't remember that at all. And he was like, you wouldn't stop crying and rocking back and forth So I eventually gave you a Xanax, stacked the luggage in front of the door, and held you until you just fell out. And I was laughing so hard. I could not believe that that was scaring me. Like, people throwing more meth under the door. Like, I was just so far gone and had done way too much meth that I didn't want to do anymore. And anyone who's done meth and has gone through psychosis like that, you literally get to that point where you just have done so much and you just need to fall out. And that's basically the point I was at. And I didn't want to do any more at that time, but obviously when I woke up the next day, I wanted to do more, and we ended up going on a run for several more weeks and experiencing the most craziest things in my life. And yeah, so that's my Dopey story. I'm not sure if it's good enough to be put on the show, but I thought I would give it a shot. And like I said, over 6 years clean. I'm about to be an attorney. I was in and out of jail, had felonies on my record, misdemeanors. I basically messed my life up to the fullest. And I have worked so hard to get that back and have been blessed with amazing blessings. And I just want to say that I give it all to sobriety, and I wouldn't be where I am today, about to be an attorney, without sobriety. So, I guess bye-bye for now, and toodles for Chris. Bye.
So thank you, Natalie, for your meth psychosis voicemail. Now we do the thank yous. That's the new thing on Dopey is to do thank yous at the end. So we're going to thank Lenny Dykstra. I hope Lenny Dykstra listens and retweets. Motherfucker, get Daryl Strawberry on the show. I want to thank Tanisha for the amazing voicemail, and I'm sorry I confused you with a guy. I want to thank Linda's cousin Mark of the Mark and Lowell Show for sending me the clip of Howard talking about the Dopey podcast. Obviously not our Dopey podcast. I want to thank Howard Stern for everything he does. Love Howard. And I want to thank my friend Harold, who did that song at the beginning, Dopey Nation, We're All In, So Alive. Harold has a T-shirt company and an Instagram account called Health Collective 666. So check it out, Health Collective 666. I want to thank Dopey Nation. I want to thank the sick and suffering addicts in and outside of the rooms. And I want to thank Sam for his tireless work. And Sam wanted me to thank the addicts south of the border in Mexico way. So if you are Mexican and you are listening to Dopey, send in a voicemail, send in an email. Gracias, mi amigos. All right, well, I'm going to end the show the way I always end it, but I'm also going to play the full front theme song at the back. I'm not going to close it with Good So Bad. I'm going to close it with this tune. Our theme song, technically our theme song is called If I'm Not Home, I'm Out Walking Around. Chris and I played it at some point. We actually played it on an episode where we recorded it in his parents' pool house in Southampton. And Chris always was very impressed with this song. And it's like one of the better recordings that any band I ever was in did. I wrote it on heroin and recorded it with a bunch of really, really great musicians. And obviously, every show that I do, when there's a lot of alone time, especially, it makes me miss Chris even more. The show was way different with Chris, but obviously there's nothing I can do about what happened. And living with his death is a weird and sad thing, and I'm sure it's harder for his family, and it's harder for Annie. And it's weird how to hear from you guys, especially the new listeners, who are going back and discovering how beautiful and fun and unique Chris was. So we'll say stay strong, Dopey Nation, and fucking toodles for Chris, who we will always miss, and later.
do me any good. Until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I wanna be good so bad. Wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And I wanna take a ride up in the sky. Watch this aeroplane just pass me by. And I wanna see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. But I wanna be good so bad. Wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to where I stand. Shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's high noon where I stand. And I wonder would they pay it any mind when I leave this busted city far behind. I'll take the high road however far it winds, because peace and love are very, very, very hard to find. And I wanna be good so bad. Wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. Damn it, all these suckers make me mad. And it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad, and I wanna call my dad. And it's all I ever had. 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 And these suckers make me mad, and it's all I ever had. And I wanna call my dad. And it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And it's all I